Last Meal Monday, where every Monday I tell you about a killer on death row and what they had as their final meal. This week we're going to discuss Keith Zettlemoyer. On October 13th, 1980, two police officers in an unmarked car were on a road in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, parked on the side, when they heard some gunshots coming from a wooded area. They knew this wooded area was used often for dumping trash, so they got out of the car and headed over there on foot. Then they came across a 1967 Ford van and they heard a rustling in the bushes. A few moments later, Keith stumbled out of the wooded area holding a handgun. The police, obviously startled, asked him what he was doing, and he claimed that he was just in the woods shooting at rats. So the police officers decided to venture further into the wooded area to see what he was actually up to. After a few minutes of searching the area, the police stumbled across the body of 29-year-old Charles DeVetsko. He had been shot 4 times. They immediately arrested Keith for suspicion of murder. It only took the police a little bit of investigation to find out what the motive behind this murder was. It turned out Charles was a former co-worker of Keith's, and at some point in time, Keith had told Charles about committing a burglary, and Charles was going to testify against him in court. In May of 1980, Keith and his buddy went and robbed a local Radio Shack. They tied up the security guard, and at gunpoint, they stole thousands of dollars worth of electronic equipment. His accomplice was caught trying to sell the equipment and was arrested and told police exactly what happened. And in a moment of panic, Keith decided to talk to his buddy Charles and fully admit to him that he was actually a part of the robbery. Charles turned around and told authorities. Police were eventually able to get the truth out of Keith, and what he told them was that evening he had picked Charles up in his van and driven him to that secluded area, where he handcuffed Charles and shot him twice. After that, he took the handcuffs off, dragged him from the van into the wooded area where his body was found, and Keith finished the job, shooting Charles 2 more times, officially killing him. On April 24th, 1981, Keith was officially convicted of murder and sentenced to death. He spent 14 years on death row before firing his entire legal team, claiming that he just wanted to die and he wanted to hurry up and be put to death because he felt he had a brain disease. His legal team did believe that he was mentally ill and not competent enough to be put to death. They had a psychiatrist test him 3 separate times. All times he was listed as competent. I will add that Charles, the victim's own mother, didn't want Keith put to death, claiming that she didn't feel that he was mentally competent enough to be sentenced to it. Keith was put to death on May 2nd, 1995 by the lethal injection. For his final meal, he had 2 cheeseburgers, some French fries, a chocolate pudding, and a glass of chocolate milk. And that brings us to the end of